Hello, friends. Welcome to part 3 of From USB to CDJ. And this one's going to be fairly straightforward, but it's my personal experience, I suppose, of finding music, how I go about finding it, where I get it from, how I kind of like crate dig, as they call it. You probably would have heard of some of these. You probably would have heard of Beatport. It's a pretty reliable place to get a lot of music. It's mostly electronic. The genres are really broad. There's almost everything that you're going to find in here. They have really strong community. It's a good place to find most tracks. The cost can vary. I think I've maybe seen it ever so slightly cheaper, but like that sounds about right for like starting prices, getting up towards like £2 for maybe some of the newer tracks. You get a small preview that's kind of selected for you, and the quality is okay. What I would recommend that you do with all of these sites, and what I found really useful, is to learn the keyboard shortcuts that are on that allow you to skip through the track or skip through to the next track. So this is my followed artists and labels, and so if I'm just listening to this at home or something and I'm busy, and I'll have it on in the background, and I'll come over and I'll be like, this is okay, and then I'll just press the next button on my keyboard, and then it will start playing the next track, and I can wander off for a little bit and listen to it in the background, and then if I'm not feeling it, come back over and just hit the next button, and it will just keep going through until you run out. The unless you've got the paid plan, you can't download the music again. So once you've bought it, you have to make sure that you keep a copy of it as if it were a real, like a real living physical copy. But that said, you do get access to the different formats if you want. The next one that I want to talk about is TrackSource. And TrackSource I found to be more commercial. It has the same sort of electronic vibe with some extra bits and pieces. Sometimes if it's not available in Beatport, I found it in TrackSource. And I've also found that TrackSource has got quite good remixes. I'm not overly into really crazy remixes, but sometimes there's like a really good one that you want, and they tend to be in here. It is in USD, so I use a Monzo card to avoid paying the exchange fee on the currency, but yeah, it's pretty good. And again, you can hit the keys and it will show you how you can skip through tracks and add to your playlist and basket and things like that. So again, similar vibes to Beatport. Volumo is my favorite, if you can have a favorite. I really like it. It's a really well-made website. It's just really easy to use, and it's a real really easy to kind of crate dig and just get through and try and like find your taste and harness it and like drill into it. For example, so I've gone to like new releases. If you go into the filters, obviously you can search by the genre, but you can also drill in a little bit. So they have featured and curated, so you can just take the ones that they've featured. You can go a little bit broader, or you can have everything. And then what's really clever is you can hide the tracks that you've listened to. So if there's been a release and it's got a radio edit, an original and an extended, and maybe you've already heard the extended, you already previewed the extended version from like a few days ago or something, or a different playlist, this will stop you running through like the other two because you already heard it. You don't need to hear it again. It's really clever. It's really nice. And again, with their keyboard shortcuts, you can do the same sort of thing where you can skip forward tracks and skip forward within a track. The really nice thing about a Volumio, and probably the reason I like it the most, is that the previews are really good quality. They're a better quality than Beatports and track source. They're not the perfect quality, but they're pretty good. But what happens is they give you a segment here. So for example, this is the beginning of the preview, and then this is the end of the preview here. But you get to pick which bit you want to preview. So for example, if I want to hear this drop here, I can jump here, and this is where it will start the preview from. And I can actually jump around the track a little bit. I can go back and listen to other parts of it. So you get a real sense for it. You can't listen to the whole track all in one go, but you do get a really, really good sense of what you're actually buying. And then, yeah, you can just press the down arrow and it will take you on to the next track. They have a really nice playlist system. So I've just got a hold bin. And you can download the tracks. Again, I'm pretty sure. And I think you can even download them in any format without having to actually pay additionally as well. So I tend to get them in MP3 and in FLAC, and you can go back and you can go back and get them if you lose it or you know. Yeah, really like this site. It's the only problem with it is that it doesn't have the breadth of the selection that Beatport and TrackSource have. It's slightly narrower, but for the genres that I'm mostly in, it's pretty good. And I've been able to find music that I didn't know about through Volumio, just purely because of the way that it's been built and the way that it's so much easier to be able to use. Then I want to talk about Zip DJ. So this is a bit different. This is a DJ pool. And DJ pools, you pay a fixed fee and then you download either an amount of music or as much music as you like from that. So it's a bit like paying a subscription for Spotify, for something like that, and then listening to as much as you like. But here you can actually download the tracks. The only problem is you can only download the tracks once. So once you've downloaded it, that's it. So it makes it obviously very hard to like share or things like that, which is fine. And the previews the quality of the previews is not amazing. The preview length is really good. You actually get a good old section of the track, but the quality isn't amazing. So it's not, you can't always hear it. And I've downloaded a couple of tracks in the past just to be able to hear them properly and then discarded them because they weren't exactly what I wanted. The downside is it costs money, right? It's $40 a month. Or maybe slightly more with tax, and it's that obviously is a lot. Like that's not inexpensive. What I've just done here is I've just got some quick maths about how I've worked this, how I've been using it. So I've been using it for 5 months, paying $40 a month, which means that I've paid $200 or more. And I've downloaded 619 tracks in that time. So each track has worked out at about 24 pence. So rather than paying £1.40 on Volumio or Beatport, I've only been paying 24 pence. If I'd been paying full price for everything that I downloaded, it's coming up to 900 quid. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, cool. I started out with nothing at the beginning of the year. I've now got a collection of over 600 tracks that I really love, and I've been able to play out, and you get a really, really good quality MP3, and I haven't had to spend, £900 on getting there. The downside of a lot of the DJ pools is that they are for new releases and pre-releases. They don't have older records. If you want classic tracks, you're not going to be able to go back and find it. Sometimes you'll get lucky in that something actually gets pre-released. Very occasionally I found a track in here that's not been released yet, which is quite cool. But then, or it will normally come out like a few weeks afterwards. So if there's something brand new, you can't always get hold of it. And some artists don't have any releases in here. So sometimes you might find somebody who doesn't actually have any records in here. But on the whole, it's been a really good way of being able to get a record collection together from nothing, and I would totally do it again. Maybe in a few months' time, I might sort of feel like I've had enough, and I might bring it back down or cancel it. There's some smaller plans you can have where you have like 100 downloads a month, something like that, and you pay much less. There's other DJ pools available. This one worked for me just because the types of genre that they have really work well for me. The other thing about DJ pools is you do have to apply to be in them. I was able to present my SoundCloud, my Instagram, and just write a little bit about who I was, and it took about a day or so, and I was allowed in. So there is an application to be had. You can't just sign up and start downloading. And then finally, I want to talk about Bandcamp. There is, of course, like places like SoundCloud and things like that that you know. I've struggled with them a little bit. Bandcamp, somewhere in the middle. I do struggle to find music in Bandcamp because I think a lot of people don't necessarily. They kind of tick all the boxes because the genres aren't curated. So I've, for example, here I want to listen to house music, and I've got ambient, I've got electronic, like it's quite annoying to actually try and find music. But there's some really amazing stuff in here. And once in a blue moon, you might just find something. I've actually had recommendations from Selector Hood members for tracks to download, and I found them in here, and they've been awesome. But I do struggle to spend time in here. It's not been an easy journey to be able to like actually find new music. The two places that I've basically found almost everything that I've really loved have been, funnily enough, Zip DJ, because I will just happily have this on in the background, use the keyboard shortcuts, and just like sit there and just, you know, skip through tracks when it's getting kind of annoying, and I'll just go through everything that's been released over like a week, for example. And then Volume, same sort of thing. I go through their curated and their featured and just pick out things that have really been amazing. So these are the two places in terms of like time versus tracks. These are the most efficient. Bandcamp's pretty awesome, but it takes a lot of time to be able to find everything. And then Beatport and TrackSource are kind of filling out the gaps. So that's it. That's my finding music. That's how I find music. Hopefully that's a little bit useful to either starting from scratch, or maybe you've been playing out for a while and you want some new music. In the next part, I'm going to talk about how I look after my music, how I maintain it, how I back up my tracks, and how I organize my library.